Hello, everyone. Today, I'm so excited to share with you my journey of learning English over the past 6 months. I hope that by telling my story, I can inspire you on your own language learning journey too. My name is Isabella. I'm 28 years old, and I come from the beautiful city of Madrid, Spain. Just 6 months ago, the thought of speaking English fluently felt like an impossible dream. Even the simplest conversations made me nervous and unsure. Whenever I faced formal situations, especially job interviews, I would freeze, unable to express what I truly wanted to say. My confidence was very low, and I constantly questioned whether I would ever be able to improve. But today, I can proudly say that I speak English with confidence, and it's truly one of the best feelings I've ever experienced. Of course, this transformation didn't happen overnight. It was the result of consistent daily practice, a lot of patience, and most importantly, finding a learning method that really worked for me. I didn't rely on expensive courses or complicated strategies. Instead, I focused on small steps, celebrating little wins every day, and always moving forward. Now I want to share my story with you because I believe with all my heart, if I can do it, you can too. Learning English isn't just about memorizing grammar rules or expanding your vocabulary. It's about building the right mindset, staying motivated, and being consistent even when it feels hard. There will be tough days and moments when you feel like giving up, but trust me, every small effort adds up. Believe in yourself, trust the process, and keep moving forward. You are capable of so much more than you realize. I'm rooting for you every step of the way. Let's keep growing together. The beginning of my journey. Ever since I was young, I dreamed of working at an international company where I could communicate in English and explore the world. After finishing university, I decided to pursue a job at a multinational company in the UK. I knew this was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. One day, I received an email inviting me to an interview with a well-known company. I was absolutely thrilled, thinking that this opportunity could open a new door for my career. For the entire week leading up to the interview, I dedicated all my time to researching the company and preparing for every possible question they might ask. I felt confident, imagining how everything would go smoothly as I demonstrated my skills and passion for the job. But when the interview day arrived, things didn't go as planned. It wasn't the typical interview I had envisioned. The interview was conducted via Zoom, and there were 3 native English-speaking interviewers. As soon as the conversation started, I realized I was unprepared for the reality of speaking with native speakers. They began speaking quickly, and their accents were different from what I had practiced. I couldn't follow their words fast enough, and I felt completely overwhelmed. My heart raced, and I found myself struggling to keep up. The first question they asked was, "Isabella, can you tell us about your experience and why you want to join our company?" I had prepared for this question, but when it came time to speak, I couldn't find the right words. My response came out in short, awkward phrases, and I could see their puzzled expressions. At that moment, I knew I wasn't doing well. My nerves took over, and my lack of fluency became painfully obvious. After a few more questions, the interview ended, and they politely thanked me for my time. I knew I had failed, not because I wasn't qualified for the job, but because I couldn't communicate effectively in English. That experience was a wake-up call for me. I realized that to reach my goals, I had to improve my English. No more excuses. This was the turning point in my journey. The decision to change. After that failed interview, I knew something had to change immediately. I couldn't keep avoiding English or hoping things would somehow get better on their own. That day, I made a firm decision. I was going to learn English seriously, even if I had to start from scratch. I didn't have the money for expensive courses, and honestly, I had already tried a few traditional methods that didn't work for me. I didn't need more grammar rules or boring exercises. I needed something simple, consistent, and practical. Most importantly, I needed a method I could stick to every single day, no matter what. That moment of failure was painful, but it was also powerful. It forced me to face the truth. If I really wanted to follow my dreams and work internationally, I couldn't sit around waiting. I had to take action. Yes, I was embarrassed. Yes, I felt behind. But my desire to grow was stronger than my fear. I promised myself that I wouldn't let one bad experience define me. That failure became the fire that pushed me forward, and I was ready to begin. The first 15 days, building my foundation. When I finally made the decision to take learning English seriously, I knew I had to do things differently. In the past, I'd wasted too much time memorizing vocabulary lists and studying grammar rules that seemed useful in theory, but didn't actually help me in real conversations. I still couldn't speak with confidence, and whenever I tried, I would hesitate or freeze. This time, I wanted to build real, practical skills, something I could actually use every day. That meant starting with the most basic and essential parts of the language, simple, everyday sentences. I didn't rush into learning complicated words or expressions. Instead, I focused on phrases I already knew, short, common sentences like, "How are you? Can you help me? Excuse me?" and "I don't understand." These might sound too easy, but I quickly realized they are the building blocks of most conversations. People use these expressions all the time, and mastering them meant I could start participating in basic interactions without fear or hesitation. So I started with step 1. I created a personal list of 50 essential sentences that I imagined I would need in real life. These included asking for directions, ordering food, introducing myself, or asking someone to repeat something. Every morning, I stood in front of a mirror and read each sentence out loud 10 times. I spoke slowly and clearly, trying to sound confident. I added gestures, facial expressions, and imagined myself actually using those phrases in everyday situations. This made my practice more fun and much more effective. Then came step 2, working on pronunciation and rhythm. I wanted to sound natural, so I chose short video clips from English movies, interviews, or YouTube videos with native speakers. I would play a sentence, pause, and then repeat it out loud, trying to mimic the tone, speed, and emotion as closely as possible. At first, I made a lot of mistakes. I stumbled over words, forgot how to pronounce things, and even felt silly talking to myself. But I kept going every single day for at least 20 minutes. I didn't expect miracles, but after just 2 weeks, I noticed something amazing. I could say many of the sentences without needing to pause or think. My pronunciation improved, and I started recognizing the rhythm of spoken English. Best of all, I no longer had to translate from Spanish in my head. The words came to me more naturally, and for the first time, I felt like English was becoming a part of my life, not just a subject I was studying. That small but meaningful progress gave me a huge boost in confidence. I realized that I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to be consistent. Those first 15 days laid the foundation for everything that came next. It was the start of a journey I was finally excited to be on. Days 16 to 30. Training my thinking and reflexes. After spending 2 focused weeks building a strong base using everyday English phrases, I began to feel a noticeable improvement in my ability to speak. I was no longer afraid of saying simple sentences, and I could pronounce basic expressions more clearly. But deep down, I knew that fluency wasn't just about repeating what I had memorized. It was about being able to think in English. I wanted to move from memorization to real communication, where I could respond quickly and naturally, just like in real conversations. That's when I found one of the most useful techniques in my learning journey, the question-answer method. The idea was incredibly simple. Every day, I would ask myself easy, real-life questions in English and answer them out loud, right away, without stopping to think too much or translating from Spanish. The goal wasn't to sound perfect. It was to train my brain to respond quickly and develop real reflexes in English. I started with questions like, "What did you do today? What's your favorite food? What time did you wake up? How do you feel right now?" At first, my answers were very short and basic. For example, "I worked today," or "I ate pasta." But I quickly realized that to improve, I needed to push myself further, so I began expanding each answer. Instead of just saying, "I worked today," I said, "I worked on a presentation for my team. It was a little difficult at first, but I finished it before lunch and sent it to my manager." Or instead of "I ate pasta," I would say, "I made pasta with tomato sauce and cheese. It's my favorite meal because it's easy to cook and tastes amazing." This kind of practice helped me in 2 ways. It improved my vocabulary naturally, and it made my brain faster at building sentences. I didn't need to stop and think in Spanish first. I started thinking directly in English. I practiced this technique for about 20 to 30 minutes every day. Sometimes I walked around my apartment or outside, talking to myself quietly. Other times, I wrote the questions and answers in a notebook and read them aloud. The key wasn't where or when I practiced. It was that I did it every single day without skipping. As I continued, I noticed something amazing. I was no longer pausing to search for words. I could build full sentences with more confidence, and I felt less pressure when trying to speak. I even caught myself thinking in English randomly throughout the day. That was a big moment for me because it meant I wasn't just learning a language anymore. I was starting to live it. By the end of day 30, my mindset had shifted. English wasn't something outside of me. It was becoming part of how I communicated and thought. I had moved past memorizing phrases. I was having real, natural conversations, even if it was just with myself, and that made all the difference. At days 31, 60, finding my voice through shadowing. As I entered the third phase of my English learning journey, I felt ready to improve not just my vocabulary or sentence structure, but something deeper, my ability to sound natural. I wanted to speak English in a way that flowed, that matched the rhythm and music of how native speakers talk. That's when I discovered a technique that completely changed everything for me: shadowing. Shadowing is a method where you listen to a native speaker and immediately repeat what they say, mimicking their tone, rhythm, pronunciation, and speed as closely as possible. At first, it felt weird, like I was doing karaoke with spoken words instead of songs, but it didn't take long to realize just how powerful this technique was. I started small. Each day, I chose a short audio clip, 1 or 2 minutes long, from a movie, a podcast, or a YouTube video. I made sure the speaker was a native English speaker with clear pronunciation. Then I'd play the clip 1 sentence at a time. I would pause the audio, repeat what I heard, then rewind and do it again. Sometimes I repeated the same line 10 times just to get the intonation right. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about training my mouth and ears to work together. At first, it was frustrating. I tripped over words. I couldn't match the speed. I'd mess up the intonation and sometimes not even understand what I was saying. But I kept going. I told myself it was okay to sound awkward at first, because every time I tried again, I got a little bit better. And then, slowly but surely, I started noticing changes. My pronunciation got clearer. I was able to copy the flow of sentences more naturally. I didn't sound robotic or overly slow anymore. I was speaking with rhythm. I was speaking with emotion. And surprisingly, I was understanding more too, because shadowing wasn't just helping me speak, it was helping me listen more effectively. By the end of my second month, shadowing had become one of my favorite daily habits. It didn't feel like homework. It felt like a game. I would pick scenes from movies I loved, repeat them until I could say them perfectly, and feel proud every time I got through a full sentence without hesitation. Even more important, shadowing changed the way I felt about English. I stopped being afraid of fast conversations. When I heard native speakers, I didn't panic. I leaned in, listened closely, and followed along. I could finally understand the flow and feeling of the language. I didn't feel like a foreigner in English anymore. I felt like I was part of it. Shadowing helped me blend in. It gave me confidence, and more than anything, it helped me find my own voice in the language. Not a perfect voice, but a real one that belonged to me. Vocabulary and thinking in English, a new way to learn. After I had built a good foundation with listening and speaking, especially through shadowing, I realized there was still one area where I needed major improvement: vocabulary. I could speak better and understand more than before, but I often felt stuck when I couldn't find the right word to express myself. I knew it was time to expand my vocabulary, but I didn't want to fall back into the old method of memorizing endless word lists. I had tried that before, and while I might remember words for a few days, I would quickly forget them if I didn't use them. What I needed was a better, more natural way to learn and remember vocabulary. That's when I created my own technique, which I call the story method. Every day, I would choose 5 new English words. I didn't choose them from a textbook. I found them in real-life content like podcasts, YouTube videos, blog articles, or even from comments I read online. Then, instead of just trying to memorize the words, I challenged myself to write a short story using all 5 of them. The story didn't have to be long or perfect. The goal was to use the words in context so I could understand how they worked in real sentences. For example, if my 5 words were nervous, interview, prepare, success, and confident, I'd write something like, I was nervous before the interview, but I prepared really well. In the end, it was a success, and I felt confident walking out. Once I finished writing, I would read the story out loud several times. This helped me practice pronunciation while also reinforcing the new vocabulary in my mind. Then, throughout the day, I looked for chances to use at least 1 or 2 of the new words, whether in a conversation with a friend, a journal entry, or even when talking to myself. That made a huge difference. I wasn't just learning words, I was living them. At the same time, I also started training myself to think in English. This was a game changer. In the beginning, I used to translate everything from Spanish to English in my head, which made speaking feel slow, awkward, and stressful. I wanted to change that. I knew that real fluency meant being able to think directly in English. So I began a simple daily habit. As I walked outside or went about my day, I described what I saw in English. The sun is shining. That man is wearing a red jacket. A dog is barking across the street. I also asked myself questions like, what am I doing now? And answered, I'm walking to the store. I need to buy some vegetables for dinner. It felt strange at first, but soon it became natural. This constant inner dialogue helped me become more comfortable with forming sentences in real time. My thoughts were no longer tied to Spanish. I was beginning to think in English. This shift in how I learned vocabulary and trained my mind helped me reach a new level. English became more than a subject I studied. It became a part of my everyday life. And that mindset brought me one big step closer to true fluency. The final result: a new chapter begins. After 6 months of consistent learning, daily practice, and navigating both moments of progress and frustration, I finally reached a place I had once only dreamed of. I could speak English confidently. It still amazes me when I look back and remember how lost I felt at the beginning. Back then, I would freeze during conversations, second-guess every word, and feel overwhelmed every time someone spoke English quickly. But little by little, with patience and persistence, everything began to change. The turning point came when I realized I was no longer afraid. I could hold conversations, respond to questions without long pauses, and speak without constantly translating from Spanish. My words came out with ease, and my confidence showed in how I carried myself. English had become a part of me, not perfect, but real, natural, and useful. With this newfound confidence, I made a bold choice. I decided to reapply for the job I had been rejected from 6 months earlier. It felt like a full circle moment, but this time I wasn't scared or nervous. I felt in control. In the weeks before the interview, I prepared carefully. I reviewed common interview questions, practiced speaking in front of a mirror, recorded my answers, and studied all the vocabulary related to the position. I didn't want to leave anything to chance. I was ready. On the day of the interview, I joined the Zoom call with a smile. I greeted the interviewers warmly, and from the first question, I could tell it was different. I wasn't just answering questions. I was having a real conversation. My answers were well structured. My pronunciation was clear, and I expressed my thoughts smoothly. I even joked once or twice, something I would never have dared to do before. There were no awkward silences, no puzzled looks. I could feel that they understood me, not just my words, but my personality, my energy, my passion for the role. When the interview ended, I closed my laptop and smiled to myself. No matter the result, I had done my absolute best. A few days later, the email arrived. My hands were shaking as I opened it. "Congratulations, Isabella. We're pleased to offer you the position." I read it again and again. I had done it. I had turned what was once my biggest weakness into my greatest strength. Getting that job wasn't just a professional achievement. It was proof that change is possible. It showed me how much I had grown, not just in language skills, but in confidence and resilience. I had faced one of my biggest fears and come out stronger. This chapter in my life taught me something priceless. With the right mindset and steady effort, nothing is truly out of reach. If I could do it, so can you. Final thoughts. Keep going. You're closer than you think. If you're finding English difficult right now, please remember you're not alone, and more importantly, don't give up. I've been exactly where you are. I know how it feels to get stuck in the middle of a sentence, to be afraid of making mistakes, and to wonder if you'll ever feel confident speaking. But I promise you, progress is possible, and it's closer than you think. Start with small steps. You don't need to do everything at once. Practice the basics and build from there. Just 15 minutes of focused practice a day can change everything if you stick with it. The secret isn't speed, it's consistency. Fluency doesn't come overnight, but it does come when you show up day after day. Try different methods and see what works best for you. Maybe you enjoy talking to yourself while doing chores or watching shows with subtitles. Maybe journaling helps, or listening to podcasts on your commute. Whatever it is, make English part of your life, not just something on your to-do list. And please don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are how we grow. Speak out loud, even if it feels messy. Keep going, even when you feel slow. Everyone's journey is different, and yours is uniquely valuable. Let my story remind you that with effort, patience, and heart, you can get there too. You are more capable than you believe. So keep moving forward. Keep practicing. Keep believing in yourself. You're closer than you think. And I'm cheering for you always. If this story inspired you, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment and share your English learning journey. Share this video with a friend who needs a little motivation. Subscribe for more real stories, useful tips, and daily inspiration. Let's grow together, one word at a time.